We have a follow-up for you tonight on that shocking lawsuit that alleges that Fox News, a Republican donor, and maybe even the White House all conspired to concoct a phony story about the murder of a young staffer for the DNC. All of it done as a way to discredit the conclusion by U.S. intelligence that Russia hacked the election. I want to bring in our senior media correspondent, Brian Stelter. It's always good to see you, my friend. So what do we know? We know that Fox News retracted the story, but what else has happened? Usually in a situation like this, if it really isn't true, if anything in this lawsuit is true, you'd see a lot of action by a news organization. What are we seeing here?
That's right, and this was in mid-May. Since then, there has not been a lot of action from Fox, at least not publicly. No suspensions or disciplinary action that we know of against any staffers who were involved in the story. However, we do know Fox has retained outside counsel. They brought in outside lawyers to handle this case from Rod Wheeler. We know Rod Wheeler's attorneys are looking forward to the discovery process. They would like to depose people like, for example, Sean Spicer, who was the White House press secretary back in April when Spicer had a meeting with Wheeler and this GOP donor, Ed Butowski, at the White House, where they talked about this inane Seth Rich conspiracy theory, this theory that has hurt this slain DNC staffers family so much. So because we know there was this White House meeting, it creates a sense that maybe there is more to this story, but there's just a lot we don't know. And we don't know how much evidence Wheeler really has to back up his assertions.
Well, that's one of the good things about litigation, right? You have discovery and you only know what you show. So there will be that eventuality. But the only thing we do know for sure at this point is that the family of Seth Rich is devastated by this controversy and these conspiracy theories. The statement they put out is, hopefully this lawsuit will bring to an end the connection of our son and his death to this. There is no proof that Rich was connected to WikiLeaks that's come from police, as far as I understand. Do you?
That's absolutely right. The police believe that this was an armed robbery attempt gone wrong late at night, one summer night a year ago in Washington. Out of that one fact, there's been a mountain of lies and mistruths and conspiracy theories built on top of it, all designed to show that it wasn't Russia that hacked the DNC. It wasn't designed to help Trump. It was actually maybe this kid who did it and sent the information to WikiLeaks. As you said, the family has been devastated by these claims. They say there's no evidence of it, and they wish these conspiracy theorists would go away. Fox gave this theory a lot of credibility for a week in May, partly thanks to Rod Wheeler. But now Wheeler says he was misquoted.
Fox is all over it. They put out the story. It was their reporter. Wheeler worked for them as a contributor. The donor was, one of their contributors. So the allegations about the White House, much softer ground. And luckily for us, we have a man who can put some meat on those bones for us. First of all, Brian, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So joining us now is the man who filed the lawsuit, Fox News contributor Rod Wheeler, a former Washington, D.C. homicide detective. He also has with him his attorney, Gene Christensen. Thank you to both of you for being with us tonight.
It's good to be with you, Chris.
All right, so let's get to some of the allegations. And as you know, we interviewed Ed Butowski here, and he had some stiff responses, and I want to get your response to his argument. The main allegation in the lawsuit is that they used you to forward a lie, essentially, that they misquoted you. Is that accurate? Is that your argument here?
That's exactly my argument. And Chris, let me just first start out by saying that my heart and prayers go out to the Rich family. They always have. I really tried hard to find a murderer, not to debunk a Russian narrative or to support a Russian narrative, to find a murderer. And while I was in the process of trying to find that murderer, behind the scenes, what I did not know is that this reporter and that this Rich guy, Ed Butowski, had another plan in mind, and that's why they brought me into this thing, and I realize that now. Unfortunately, I realize that too late.
Ed Butowski says you're lying. You're aware of this. And one of the things he points to is an appearance by you on Fox News on May 16th. Let's play that.
There was a federal investigator that was involved on the inside of the case, a person that's very credible. He said he laid eyes on the computer and he laid eyes on the case file, and he came across very credible. When you look at that with the totality of everything else that I found in this case, it's very consistent for a person with my experience to begin to think, well, perhaps there were some email communications between Seth and WikiLeaks.
How do you reconcile that Rod Wheeler with the Rod Wheeler before us tonight who's saying, I never wanted anything to do with this conspiracy?
Absolutely. So as during the investigation, when I'm going through information and interviewing people, I get the information. This is important here. I get the information about this federal investigator from who? Malia Zimmerman and Ed Butowski. That was my source from that. And as a matter of fact, when I asked them about this federal investigator, I also asked, is this guy credible? The response was yes. Now, after the story broke, and this is so important real quickly here, Chris, after the story broke, I didn't waste any time, challenged Malia about those quotes that she had put in the story. I also asked her, let me contact this federal investigator to talk to him and to give his information to the DC police, and I was told I could not talk to this guy.
All right, one quick thing for you, Gene. I know the lawyer usually here is ignored in these interviews. Not tonight. Proof that he was misquoted. I know that's a little tricky. I know you could look at it as that demonstration of a non-existent fact, but is there anything that you can show in this lawsuit that will demonstrate that your client was misquoted?
Sure. I mean, aside from the fact that we have a 33-page complaint that is full of quotes from audio, from text messages, from emails, these aren't just allegations about Rod saying what happened. We thoroughly checked everything. We listened to these audios, we read the emails, we read the texts, and we only included information in that complaint that we had verified, in fact, had taken place. And contrary to what Mr. Butowski told you on Tuesday night, I believe he said to you that he had lots of documents, lots of text messages, and he was going to hand them to you personally, I think he said. He was going to come down and give them to you.
Yes.
And he's done that. I doubt it, because those other text messages, those other emails don't exist.
I have not seen or heard from the man since we interviewed him, but the invitation stands to take any proof that he has. And that is a good segue for us here. One of the text messages in question here, we'll put it up on the screen, please. Not to add any more pressure, but the president just read the article. He wants the article out immediately. It's now all up to you, but don't feel the pressure. Butowski says this was a joke. Here's his answer.
Rod Wheeler had been asking me for a long time and said, Ed, when I get this case settled, the president's going to hire me. And he was always doing this and saying this to me. So this was tongue-in-cheek, talking, just texting, wasn't serious, because Rod Wheeler was always looking for a job because he has no money. And by the way, this lawsuit is all about Rod Wheeler trying to get money because he messed up.
Two buddies joking, and you're broke. Rod Wheeler, your response.
Well, here's what I'll say to that. I want to be clear about this, and I hope Mr. Butowski is watching. Look, just because I don't have $3 million laying around the house like he does, that doesn't make me less of a person. Just because I don't get my shirts custom made and I buy my shirts at Macy's, that doesn't make me less of a person. So Mr. Butowski can take all his money bags, and he can stuff it, because as far as I'm concerned, this man knew he was lying. He's been lying the entire time. And one last thing real quickly, and I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking. I'm sure my attorney is saying, okay, Rod, that's enough. But here's the thing. If, in fact, I'm so broke, why haven't I invoiced Mr. Butowski one time for any money? I haven't invoiced it. He sent me a few thousand when I first started. Never invoiced him at all, Chris, for any of the work that I've done.
Why?
I wasn't pressed to invoice him, and I didn't know where this case was going to go, because halfway through this case, when he started taking me to the White House and things, I started thinking to myself, this guy has an ulterior motive. His goal wasn't to solve a murder. He had something else in mind, and then that's when they reeled me in and they used me for their story. And you know what else, too? He admitted it. And we got it on tape. The guy admitted it. He said, you know, Rod, one day you're going to get an award for the things you did not say. I told him, I said, Ed, keep the award. Just tell the truth.
He says there's more to that tape where he was doubting the notion that you had said things that weren't true, and that he was playing with your suggestion because it was silly. So he was playing with your silly suggestion because you both knew that you had said what you had said.
And where's that tape? And where is that Mr. Butowski claims will write what he claims is people saying that he has lied and that his political motivations were not part of it?
Well, you could have it, Counselor. I mean, are there earlier portions of that recording that give a different context to the conversation?
Absolutely not. And we wouldn't have, you know, this is a case unlike your commentator previously, where we actually had to be selective. There was so much material. There was so many facts that we had to choose from. You know, at some point, you don't just put every single thing into a complaint. And, you know, if it comes to a point after discovery and we need to amend the complaint, then that's what we'll do.
33 pages, you don't leave a lot out either, though, Counselor. That's a pretty healthy complaint.
There's plenty more information, and I assure you that, and it will come out. And Rod can attest to that.
Rod, you said something earlier I want to pick up on. You talked about your shirts. By the way, it's a nice shirt, objectively stated.
Hey, I got it at Macy's.
Ed Butowski says that that's what the meeting with Sean Spicer was about. Are we ready with that sound? All right, here's what he said.
My conversation with Sean about this recording lasted about 1 minute. He said, Ed, I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it. I can't do anything. And we ended up talking about many other things, believe it or not, including, because he and I both get our shirts at the same place through some company, and we talked about the new cotton material on these shirts. Chris, that's the truth.
Is it?
I have something to say about that, Chris, and that is, if that were true, then why do we have a text message the day before, April 19th? Ed is texting Rod to say, make sure your investigative report is up to date and finalized in PDF so we can bring it with us to our meeting for Sean Spicer.
And that's exactly what we did, Chris.
That's what happened.
We had this meeting. We met for about 10 to 15 minutes. And I'll tell you real quickly how the meeting ended. Sean Spicer said, I'm not sure how I can help with this investigation. He said, Rod, if you want to talk some more about this, or maybe if you want me to put you in touch with somebody at the Justice Department, he gave me his business card. This is the business card. Now, what I've done, he also gave me his personal cell phone number, but I've kind of whited out the last 4 digits because I don't want to put Sean's number out there. This is what he gave me. And he said, if you need some more help, give me a call. I've never called Sean Spicer after that, but that's the truth, and that's what happened.
So you went into that meeting to discuss this case. Do you think Sean Spicer knew that that's what the meeting was about?
You know, I don't know, but if you listen to what Ed Butowski says, then Sean Spicer knew about it.
No, Ed Butowski says he didn't know. He said that he just took the meeting as a friendly gesture because he knew him.
Well, and there was nothing else going on, presumably that day in the White House for Mr. Spicer.
I mean, look, there's room for speculation. This is not the first time we've heard about a White House official in this current administration taking a meeting that they say they didn't know anything about but went to anyway. But this is not the court of public opinion. In the court of law, you only know what you show, and you're going to have to demonstrate that Sean Spicer, if you're going to include the White House in a concocted story scheme, then you're going to have to show that they knew something about it and they wanted to advance it, and that there is some merit to the suggestion that the President of the United States had seen this article and wanted it advanced. Do you have any proof to do any of that?
We just filed a lawsuit, as you know, on the 1st, and the defendants are entitled to answer, and then we will proceed to discovery, and we will obtain that information that we believe is out there and will prove Rod's story.
Rod, do you believe the President of the United States was aware of this piece?
I have no idea. All I can tell you is what Butowski told me, and that's the fact that the White House is all over this, and the president wants this out. As a matter of fact, even with regards to the quotes, he said the quotes were left in there. This is what he said. Now, we got this on tape, so I'm just not saying this. He said the quotes were left in there in the story because that's the way the president wanted it. Now, I never heard the president say that. That's Butowski talking, so take it for what it's worth. I have a problem with that. But, you know, the main thing here, Chris, and I know we don't have a lot of time, is that my goal is to clear my name. I don't have the millions that Butowski has, but I have a good name, worked hard for it, and that's what I want to do, clear my name, and I want Fox to do the right thing.
Rod Wheeler, Gene Christensen, thank you very much. As we learn more, please come back so we can test it.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Let's take a quick break. Stay with CNN.